Yeah, so we got the draft coming up on October 11th, so that's a week after the Fox premiere, and then it will continue on October 14th on Raw. So that itself just shows you that they're really prioritizing SmackDown over Raw. If the whole Fox deal didn't show that, just the fact that they're starting off the draft on SmackDown and then finishing it off at Raw just shows you that Raw's in position to be the new B show now. So that's
Do you
really interesting.
think? Do you think? Quick question before we get to the draft.
Sure.
Fox picks SmackDown or WWE picks SmackDown for Fox?
Okay, here's what I think happened. Okay, so I think when it comes to Fox, they wanted a big wrestling show to fill in one of their Friday nights because, so you know how Disney bought Fox, right? So Fox was like, Fox had all these like movie studios and all these shows and everything. Disney bought all of that, so Fox doesn't really have too much programming now because Disney kind of took a lot of that. So I don't know if you know like the exact like situation, but Disney pretty much took most of Fox except for Fox News and Fox Sports, which is a separate company now because the way the regulations work, you cannot own two public stations at once. So Disney owns ABC, right? So they can't own ABC and Fox at the same time because they have regulation. The government has regulations against that. So now Fox Sports and Fox News are both like one separate company from the Fox that had like you remember how they had shows like Empire and all these other shows that would be on Fox. Now
Yeah.
now Disney owns like most of those studios, so Fox needs more programming during for their Fox channel. So they wanted Fridays because I guess they're good for all the other days, like for when it comes to programming. I know they got football on Thursday nights and the other nights they got something else. So they wanted wrestling on Friday nights. I think they were talking to WWE and Vince McMahon or whatever, and Vince McMahon always wanted Raw to stay Monday Night Raw.
So they
So
probably just gave it
Fox
away.
Fox was not interested in Monday night programming for wrestling. So they didn't want to change it to Friday Night Raw. You know what I'm saying? So I think
Yeah, that'd be a
they just
horrible
took
move.
SmackDown and was able to do that 2 hours also. So I think they want to keep Raw at 3 hours because they get more money from the USA that way for an extra hour. And I think I think that's how it happened. Is that going to be that way for like as soon as the Fox deal ends, which it probably inevitably will, whether it be 3 years from now, 5 years from now? Eventually, nothing lasts forever, right? So as soon as that happens, I think Raw is probably going to be the A show again. But I think honestly, that's the reason why they're actually enforcing the whole brand split. If it wasn't for the whole Fox thing, they probably would have kept
Fox
the
doesn't want. Yeah, they
wild
probably would
card
have kept
thing.
that fucking dumb thing. They don't. Fox doesn't want USA Network people on their network.
Yeah. So it's weird because like Fox is like WWE has like a Fox page like on Facebook, and the Fox keeps talking about Monday Night Raw and everything, which I think is interesting. So I don't know if they're completely against having Raw people on there, but I don't think
They actually
they just don't want to promote the USA Network because it's owned by a different company. I think that's what it is.
they promoted AJ Styles on Instagram being on SmackDown, and someone commented, "Oh, does this mean AJ's coming to Fox?" And then they just replied, "No." So I think they don't mind promoting the company and other superstars. They just don't. They just don't want to promote.
USA.
Like you said, USA. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's owned by NBC, so I don't think they want to do any cross promotion with them. So yeah, okay. So we'll move on to the draft, and then we'll talk about like how the whole landscape's going to change. So me personally, I'm really happy that they're actually bringing back a draft and not the stupid shakeup where people just like their entrances and they come out and they're like, oh yeah, I'm on Raw now or I'm on SmackDown now. The draft kind of like has more suspense to it. I love how the draft like they have certain matches like Raw versus SmackDown matches, and then SmackDown, if the SmackDown guy wins, then that means SmackDown gets a draft pick. I
You
kind of
think
like
that's how they're
that
doing
format
it?
better. Um, that's what I hope
I
they
mean,
do.
I don't think so. I don't like that format. I think that format's stupid.
I hope
I
it's
think it's
not like the
better.
20. I hope it's not like the 2016 draft where they just say, "Oh, this person's on Raw and this person's on SmackDown," and that's it.
You know what was good? when they originally did it back in like '02, when like Vince was on the stage and they would pick someone out of a ball, and then Eric Bischoff would pick some that I
Yeah,
or
but I
no, it
think
was
I
Ric
think the
Flair, I
way you
think.
do it though, because if you want to have ratings, you have people from Raw, like as much people show up on the show as possible, as opposed to that. So like you have it
Well, of
where like you
course,
have
yeah, you
different
have everyone
matches.
there.
No, you have it where you have different matches, right? So they're wrestling and they're being showcased, and then if the Raw guy wins, then the Raw gets a pick. SmackDown wins, but I know the way. I guess they're not doing that because the SmackDown thing will. Yeah, they're probably not going to do that because the SmackDown draft will be on one date and the Raw draft will be on another date. So they're probably going to do what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna do the match shit. Honestly, I didn't like that. I didn't like that match stuff, just because I thought it was whack. Honestly, I didn't like. I remember one year they did it was the funniest shit. I can't remember if it was John Cena. I think it was John Cena representing Raw, Batista representing SmackDown, and then Kevin Thorne from ECW. And then it's like they're gonna have a match to see who gets like a draft pick or two, and it's like, come on, like you're throwing like Kevin Thorne in there. Do you think NXT is gonna be involved in the draft? I don't think so.
No, there might be call ups, but there won't be like call downs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it might. This person just might like show up. Like Shayna Baszler. So let's get into my Raw picks. Okay. So we're gonna start off with Raw, even though technically SmackDown is first. So I guess we'll just start off with SmackDown because that SmackDown is on October 11th, and then Raw's on October 14th. So we'll just start off with SmackDown. The big pick, which everyone definitely agrees with, Brock Lesnar's going to SmackDown. No way Lesnar's staying on Raw. The way they're
Yeah, it's
positioning him,
guaranteed
especially
at
if
this
he's gonna,
point.
it's like pretty much given that he's gonna defeat Kofi Kingston for the title. So yeah, Brock Lesnar's gonna be on SmackDown, and Fox kind of wants to give SmackDown a more of like a sports presentation. So Lesnar being the face of that brand for a little while is gonna be a great way of doing that. So that's that. It's pretty much a foregone conclusion that Brock Lesnar is going to be on SmackDown, and honestly, it's pretty exciting that he's going to be wrestling on TV for the first time in 15 years. So that's going to be cool. But I know people are going to be upset that he's going to win the belt again. But honestly, like, I think the ends justify the means. I think having a big guy win the belt, it'll boost the ratings. It'll get more people into the show, and then eventually they'll build someone up to for Lesnar to put him over.
Kevin Owens.
Well, I don't know, but we'll continue with the draft picks. Okay, so I also think Braun Strowman's going to SmackDown because there's not much else
Really?
for him. Yeah, there's not think about it. Like there's not much else for him to do on Raw. He's been chasing the Universal title for about 3 years now, and he's come up short every single time. He's had all these matches with Rollins. If he's the next person to challenge Bray Wyatt for the Universal title, that wouldn't be very credible because if Rollins was pretty much able to take him out, just like that, and then he's supposed to be a credible challenger to Bray Wyatt, like no, that's not going to happen. So I think they're going to move him to SmackDown. He's going to have maybe a little program with maybe if they keep Eric Rowan around or something, they'll find someone for him to feud with. On SmackDown, and he'll have a better place there than he would if he stayed on Raw. So that's what I think they're gonna do with Braun Strowman. I think
I don't agree.
Rey Mysterio goes to SmackDown. They want to
He should.
have like big names that people are familiar with, like old wrestling fans to come back to. So like, oh, Rey Mysterio, because everyone grew up with him. So I think he'd be a good, he'd have a good place on SmackDown. He'd have a good position on there. Sami Zayn is technically, with the wild card rule, Sami Zayn is technically part of Raw. I think they're gonna officially move him to SmackDown, and he'll be Shinsuke's manager for a while. So Sami Zayn to Friday Night SmackDown. The Revival is technically, well, I guess technically they're actually like on SmackDown officially because they are the SmackDown champions, but they were on the Raw roster, so just solidify that they're on the SmackDown roster.
I can't believe that they're the fucking SmackDown champions. And they're
Yeah,
on anyways, continue.
I'd say the Usos should go to SmackDown, because you need more solid teams on that show. So I'd say put the Usos on SmackDown. And then as far as the women are concerned, Becky Lynch going to SmackDown is I think is pretty much going to happen. Like I can't
Yeah, I think
imagine.
that's guaranteed.
Yeah, Becky Lynch is
They,
definitely going to SmackDown.
I think they want her on there. I wouldn't change her. I would leave her on Raw, but I think they want her on SmackDown.
Yeah, so she can. So you've had like most of the horsewomen feud with each other. You've seen Becky. Well, you're in the process of seeing Becky and Sasha. You've seen Becky and Charlotte plenty of times. You've seen Sasha and Charlotte plenty of times, but you haven't really seen Becky and Bayley. So I'm thinking my whole mindset is that you move Becky over to SmackDown. She drops the belt to Sasha Banks. Maybe I don't know if Bayley gets involved because I think she might have her own title match at Hell in a Cell. Like against Charlotte, but have something to build up a program between Becky and Bayley because we haven't really seen those two against each other that much. So that's my whole mentality to keep it fresh. And then as far as all the other women on SmackDown are concerned, I'd pretty much keep it the same. Because I was thinking about maybe move like Alexa Bliss and Nikki to SmackDown, but that wouldn't really matter because the women tag champs they carry over between both shows anyway. But I guess I would do that. But as far as the women, I think the SmackDown women's roster would be pretty solid. Maybe I guess you can move Lacey Evans over to SmackDown, but I don't really know about that. But eventually, I mean, the big thing with the women would be I don't know what her deal is, but Ronda Rousey eventually move to SmackDown, but you definitely wouldn't see her anytime soon. But I just think in the long term, eventually.
You think she's coming back?
Yeah, I think eventually. So I know she got an
I don't
injury
think
on
so.
set. I know she's trying to have a child or whatever, but I think she's gonna come back eventually.
I think she's done.
Yeah, I don't know about that. So that's honestly like most of my SmackDown picks. I don't think they should mess around with the SmackDown roster too much, honestly. Because now SmackDown's going to be positioned to be the A show, so they're going to have a lot of big names on there. I think their roster is pretty solid as it currently stands. So I don't know who would you put on SmackDown that I didn't mention?
I would throw Rollins on SmackDown.
Really? Yeah.
I would throw Rollins, and I would I'd move Reigns to Raw just so that way it's balanced. But I'd throw Rollins to SmackDown.
So here's my whole thing. I was thinking about that because I'm pretty confident that come Sunday, Rollins is going to drop the belt. My whole mentality though is if Brock Lesnar is a WWE champion, I do not want them to be. I don't want Lesnar and Rollins to be on the same show. Like I want them to stay separate. So that was my whole mentality. Oh, maybe you can move Ricochet to SmackDown too. I mean, that would be a solid mid-carder.
I would keep him on Raw, man. I think he could be a main eventer. I really do.
Ricochet?
I think so. I think he could be a main eventer.
He needs to develop his mic skills, though.
100%. But I think I would keep him on Raw, especially
But
if Raw's
he'll be
gonna
better
be like
showcased,
that,
yeah.
yeah, that proving ground type place. Yeah, I would keep him there.
Yeah. Would you keep some? I didn't have Samoa Joe on my list at all. Would you keep him on Raw?
No, I'd push him to SmackDown.
Yeah, now I'm kind of thinking. Yeah, so Samoa Joe would go to SmackDown.
Joe would go to SmackDown. I would move Rollins to SmackDown. I mean,
I would not do that. I don't think they're gonna do that actually.
I don't think there's much else for him to do on Raw.
Okay, well now we're gonna get into my Raw picks, which are gonna be much more interesting. So they were talking about splitting up tag teams, so they're definitely gonna do that. I'm not. Don't worry, I'm not talking about the New Day. I don't think they're ever gonna break up. But
New Day.
when it comes to that awful tag team between Asuka and Kairi Sane, they're gonna split up that team. Kairi Sane goes to Raw. That would be one of my picks. Then Ember Moon goes to Raw. And then Shayna Baszler is going to be the big NXT call-up to go to Monday Night Raw. But my big pick, which I'm sure maybe you're going to not agree with, Charlotte Flair goes to Monday Night Raw.
She should.
So it's going to be an interesting dynamic because even though Sasha would presumably be the Raw champion, and God knows how many times we've seen Charlotte and Sasha go at each other, I think you always, when you have a draft, you need a balance between the horsewomen. I don't think you should have all four of them on the same show, or even three of them. I think it's a good balance to have 2 and 2. And Charlotte as a face versus heel Sasha would be a different dynamic that we haven't seen before.
I think it'd be good. I think it'd be money.
Yeah, so I think you could do that because other than that, the Raw women's roster would be pathetic. Like I think you need to have a big name on there that would be able to carry the Raw women's division. Because if Becky leaves, then who else do they really have to be able to do that? Because Sasha can't hold it all on her own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that as far as the women, that's what I would do. I'd move Heavy Machinery is technically on SmackDown. I'd move them officially to Raw. And now we get to the more interesting picks. So you were talking about Kevin Owens beating Brock Lesnar. I would actually move Kevin Owens to Monday Night Raw.
I mean, I see why you would do it because it's like supposed to be the flagship show, and if they want him to be like the Austin, he should be on Monday Night Raw.
Because I think on Fox, Kevin Owens has no chance of getting anywhere near the title picture. That's what I think. That'd be an interesting.
I could see it.
He has a lot of interesting matches. He can have a match with the Fiend Bray Wyatt. That's one
I don't
match
want to see
could
him
have.
and AJ ever wrestle again, though. To be honest.
Oh hell no. But well, now we're getting on to my other picks. So I'm also going to move Randy Orton to Monday Night Raw. Raw needs more the Fiend at the way the roster is shaped up, the way I have it, the Fiend would be the only heel. So I would move Randy Orton to Raw just so you have that balance of top heels, because you need to have a balance between faces and heels. Like you can't just have like all faces and then just no heels, because the way the Raw roster is set up right now, who else do you really have besides the Fiend to be like a top heel on that roster? So I would move Randy Orton to Monday Night Raw. Plus, you need you can't just have all the big names on one show and then just have the other guys on the other. Like that would be too much of an imbalance. So at least have at least one established guy be on the Raw roster, and I think Randy Orton's the perfect guy for that spot. But I would also. So here's where we get more interesting. So it's been reported that John Morrison has signed a WWE contract and that he's going to be on WWE. Now, people have been talking about what show should he be on. People are saying, oh, maybe he should go to NXT. No way, no chance. No, I can't see John Morrison going to NXT. That would totally send him to Raw. People are saying he should be on SmackDown, but I think he'd be lost in the shuffle over there. I think put him on Raw.
Put him with Miz.
You already have excited. Yeah, put him with the Miz, and then down the line in the future, because right now you don't have too many tag teams on Raw, so. Have a situation where the Miz is being messed around with by Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler, because I'd keep the belts on them for now. So have that where the Miz is being attacked, and then John Morrison comes out and saves the Miz, because the Miz is definitely staying on Raw because he's got that USA Network show, so he should stay on USA Network. So they would be a face team for a while. Then they'd eventually turn heel, and they'd be like the old Miz and Morrison that we used to know back in ECW. The heels, the dirt sheet, and all that. Bring that stuff back for a little bit, and then eventually have a blow-off match between Miz and Morrison somewhere down the line. But in the long term, when it comes to John Morrison, you have so many exciting matchups. You would have Ricochet, Seth Rollins, so many amazing guys, because back then Morrison didn't have too many guys that fit his style when he was on the WWE roster. So now that you have a lot of guys that are kind of like his high-flying style, I think there's a lot of exciting matches for him to have. So I think it's going to be pretty good for Morrison. He could even win the United States Championship, because that's Raw's mid-card title. So
I thought you were going to say Universal. Oh my God.
Oh no. I don't think we're at that point. I mean, it depends on how they build him up. If a year from now they build him up and it's credible enough, it's credible enough for him to be in a Universal title match.
He's a great worker.
For him to win the title, I don't think. Yeah, no. But I have a final pick actually. I would move Daniel Bryan to Monday Night Raw.
They should,
because I think he would fit Raw pretty good. He'd have a good. They turned him face at this point, so he'd be a good, top face to be able to, to fight for the Universal title, be in that mix. And also, I forgot. Okay, so I actually got a few guys that I forgot about actually. So Charlotte's going to Raw. I'd also put Andrade on Raw. He'd be a solid mid-card heel. So, of course, Selena Vega also goes on Raw. Aleister Black I'd put on Raw. And Finn Balor I would also
What
move
has
to Raw.
happened to Alistair? Oh my God.
Yeah,
He's been like,
but I think with 3 hours, you have more opportunity to showcase him.
it's been bothering me because he hasn't been on Raw, and I love him so much. Like the match he had with Cesaro was probably one of the better matches of that night. What was it on? I think it was Extreme Rules that match was on.
Hmm.
No? Yeah, that match he had where they went about like 15, 20 minutes and
Oh
did
yeah, yeah,
crazy
yeah.
shit. I was like, oh my God, like it was an
So
amazing match, and then
yeah,
nothing.
I think that's where they're headed. Like it's not just like a fantasy thing. I think that makes the most sense. That that's going to be
I
the
don't.
roster.
Who do you think's coming from NXT besides Shayna Baszler?
Let me think. So I think they already
I
established
think
that
Velveteen.
Gargano's staying on NXT. Uh, Matt Riddle's in the title picture, so they can't move him up. Yeah, I guess Velveteen Dream is like the only other person I could think of because he dropped the North American title. He doesn't really need to be, feuding for the main title. So I think they could just move him on to maybe Raw or maybe SmackDown actually.
I'd
Yeah,
put him on SmackDown.
yeah, I'd put him on SmackDown. So
But you know
that's
what?
the
I
way I
think
have
the
it.
draft. I think the one tricky thing with this though is it really depends on how they're going to book the shows. If
Yeah.
Raw truly is going to be the B show, or if they're both going to be like important. I don't think they're going to not make Raw important. Like I think they're going to still have star power with it because, for example, the Fiend. So I don't know. Like the draft is really depending on how they're going to book things. Like I don't know. What do you see them doing with like the title picture? If you were with your draft situation right now, what would be the main event for both the tag? I mean, for the heavyweight title and for the Universal title, the WWE title. If you
Um.
had to choose like the matches for that with your draft,
Okay, not counting Saudi Arabia, what's the next show after Hell in a Cell?
I'm not sure.
Is it
To be
Survivor
honest.
Series? Because if it's Survivor Series, then that's a whole different dynamic.
Well, that's
Um,
Fiend and Lesnar, but I mean like for Mania, like if you had to choose the two title matches for that pay-per-view for Mania, what's your
okay.
draft? Who would
I'd keep the belt on Bray Wyatt until WrestleMania, so he's the Universal Champion. Brock Lesnar remains the Universal Champion also. So the
I
way
mean
the
WWE champ?
oh yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, I'm just used to Brock Lesnar having that title, the
Yeah.
Universal
Oh,
title.
he basically owns that fucking title.
So the way I have it, okay, so as far as Monday Night Raw is concerned, I would have Bray Wyatt go against either Daniel Bryan or Kevin Owens. And
Oh, Daniel Bryan. I didn't even think of that.
because Daniel Bryan would be a face, I think he'd
And
be a
he should
good baby
lose.
face to go against. Yeah, and lose, of course. Kevin Owens would kind of be like that Royal Rumble opponent, going into WrestleMania, I'd say, for Bray Wyatt. And then as far as mid card feuds are concerned, I'd have AJ and Finn. And then for the
Honestly,
tag
man,
titles, Morrison and The Miz would be tag champs on Raw. And Sasha Banks would hold on to that. I don't think Sasha and Charlotte should play hot potato with the tag titles, but not the tag titles, the women's tag, the women's Raw Women's Championship. I don't know, and I would say that it's that Sasha Banks comes into WrestleMania with the title, and maybe they have a WrestleMania match with Charlotte because they've had so many matches, but not a WrestleMania match. So I think they could do that, and in the meantime, have like, what would they do with Shayna Baszler would be a good question though, right? I don't think she's ready to be in a title match at WrestleMania. I don't think she's really ready for that. I think they build her up for all this time, have her like be like kind of like an Asuka, be like that unstoppable monster, and then eventually give her a tag. Why do I keep saying tag? Keep giving her a women's title match.
give her the tag title belts. Give her both of them.
Yeah, just give her all the belts. And then Ember Moon can be kind of like that in between. Like kind of like one of those B pay-per-views. Have Sasha and Ember Moon go at it for a little bit. So I think you have some good matchups going in. And then
So who's fighting Brock at Mania?
Okay, that's the interesting question. My gut feeling, as much as I hate to say it, they're going to build up Roman Reigns and he's going to have another
I
WWE
don't think
title
so.
match against Brock Lesnar. Because,
I think
okay,
you're wrong.
you think Roman's going to still stay out of the title picture for all this time? You think they're afraid
Yeah.
of pushing him because of leukemia? You think that's what it is?
No, I just don't think they're going to put him in the title picture. I think
But
he's just going to have a
he's
feud with
definitely staying
whoever.
on SmackDown, I think.
Yeah, he's going to stay on SmackDown, but I don't think they're going to move Owens, and I really think it should be Brock and Owens. Because okay, besides Roman, who else would you pick to have him fight?
Uh, to have Brock Lesnar fight for the WWE title.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the thing. So like, I would say like at the Royal, like at Royal Rumble or something, give him Braun Strowman, because I don't think Braun Strowman's credible enough to fight at WrestleMania.
I
But
never
if
want
we're
to see that match again.
and I don't know if I want to see Brock and Joe again. Uh, I mean
They didn't have a bad match though.
that
It
could
was a
be a
little
good match, but
underwhelming.
I don't think that's a WrestleMania match. Um, yeah, so it's tricky because like I get if you would want to keep. I don't think you would. Who else would you have? Because like even if like you disagree with my draft picks, right? Would you keep Bryan on SmackDown? I don't think he would be Lesnar's opponent at WrestleMania.
I only see Owens. I really can't see anyone else.
Really?
I don't see because Wyatt's gonna go into WrestleMania fighting whoever, and he's gonna win. Wyatt has a bunch of opponents he could fight. He could
Yeah.
fight fucking Roman Reigns. He could fight whoever, and they could have an amazing match. That's another thing. I want to see the Fiend versus Roman. But anyways, um,
That'd be
that would be
interesting.
my pick. If I had to pick like a WrestleMania match for Wyatt, it'd be Roman. But I don't see anyone else fighting Lesnar. In terms of conquering Lesnar, that's the storyline I see. It'd be Owens.
I don't think
If it's
Lesnar's
just gonna
necessarily going to be
lose,
conquered at WrestleMania, though.
he should.
I don't know. I mean,
Should him.
who? Because, like I said, I think they're going to do Roman. I mean, as messed up as it is, I think that's what they're going to do.
Nah, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I mean,
I
I
think
hope
they're
I want to share your optimism, but I don't know,
I think
man.
they're aware. I think they're aware that that shit has been played out too much.
But so Roman, you think the rest of Roman's career is just going to be him in limbo?
No, I think he should fight Wyatt at Mania. That's I would put Roman to Raw. I think he's gonna stay on SmackDown, but I would honestly put him to Raw, and I'd put him against the Fiend,
I mean,
and I'd have him lose.
that would be a cool thing to do, but are they going to actually do it? That's like my whole mentality. You know, I could have this whole fantasy thing, and I guess this is kind of technically like a fantasy draft, but it's more of like based off of like realistically how they would book things. You know,
Well, it doesn't
like
matter because you could let's say have fucking Roman be on SmackDown. He wins the Rumble. He could challenge the Fiend.
that's true. Yeah, but
The thing is,
I think Raw's
Wyatt.
got enough people though to challenge for the Universal title though. You got Daniel Bryan, you got Kevin Owens could fight Bray Wyatt. Not maybe not at WrestleMania, but like still that's a good match.
Wyatt has a
The demon
million
Finn Balor,
opponents.
the demon Finn Balor.
Yeah, that
That
would be
could be
something too.
WrestleMania, honestly.
Yeah, Wyatt has a million opponents. I'm not worried about Wyatt. I'm worried about Brock.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm thinking about the people who I moved to Raw, and I'm looking at WWE's mentality because beating Lesnar's a big deal. You know what I mean? It's not just like something, oh yeah, oh this person won the title. Like Lesnar's like a big deal, like beating him because he beat the streak. He's dominant for most of his time in WWE. So I'm thinking about it like, okay, what would be the point? Daniel Bryan's career is on the verge of winding down. I mean, he's in his late 30s. So I don't think they're going to push him again and have him be like that top babyface again. So I don't think they're going to do him. Finn Balor, I think his time, I don't think he's going to really, no, I don't think he's going to beat Brock Lesnar. Kevin Owens, man, the way they've been booking him, I don't think he's the guy either, you know?
He's the only person that can see the owner at this point. If
Hmm.
they were, if they were to have someone beat him, I think it's Owens. I can't see it being anyone else. If it's just to do whatever, then probably not Owens. But if it's to beat him and make a star, I think they want to push Owens as like a Stone Cold type character.
He would be a poor man Stone Cold.
Look, but were you intrigued by the shit he did though?
By
Like honestly
the whole
speaking,
thing with Shane McMahon? Not really.
no. Like the pipe bomb promos and all that shit. Did you enjoy it?
I don't know if he's honestly like Kevin Owens as a face. I don't know if it makes any sense. Like I don't know.
Like, did you enjoy that
I don't know. Not really.
when he was doing the pipe bomb and everything? Really?
Nah, I mean it was okay, but it was not like oh my god, this is amazing. You know.
Yeah.
I know you have a hard on for Kevin Owens, but
I love him. I
I
think
love
he's
him.
great.
I love him too, but I don't know. You know. Well,
Yeah, I mean,
that whole thing remains to be. You know, we'll see how what they do with Lesnar, but I say Roman's the guy, and then in between you could have like a Braun Strowman or whoever else, you know, fight Lesnar like in between, you know, before WrestleMania. But I think Roman and Brock is the match.
I hope not.